Let's talk about some negatives to owning a Jeep Wrangler. And you can see I've got two of them right now. First off is the cost. They are not cheap. You're gonna pay right about 40 grand for a Jeep Wrangler. This is the two-door version. You're gonna pay even more if you go for the four-door. Now, this is the Sport S trim line. So maybe if you went with a Sport, you might get it a little bit cheaper. But let's get into it. Number one, they are small inside. I mean, if you look, you can see there's not a ton of room in here to begin with. And if you leave the back seat in, which I did not, they're about impossible to get into because you kind of have to pull the seat forward and then the person getting in kind of has to crawl in right between the seat and the side of the Jeep. Kind of a drag, not only for people, but also for hauling anything. You just don't have a ton of space, again, unless you take out that rear seat, which is why I got rid of the rear seat in mine. Number two, the ride quality. They are a bit bumpy. They do bounce a bit more on the road, particularly, or maybe solely, the two-door version, and that's probably because of the shorter wheelbase, right? I mean, the shorter wheelbase you get, and it's a little bit narrow, you're just gonna bounce all over the place. One of the biggest complaints I guess I get whenever I take anybody in the Jeep with me and I happen to ask them what they think of the ride, they always comment, it's rough. Number three, the windshield. Particularly if you're down here in South Texas like I am. The windshield is almost straight up and down. That means that you're gonna catch every little thing that flies up in the air coming at you. You're gonna have chips. Hopefully you don't have cracks. On the Jeep that I have back there, it's a 2024, it does have Gorilla Glass in it. Supposed to be stronger, more chip resistant. We shall see. My philosophy on it is if a stone or a rock is coming at a piece of glass, it's gonna chip it or even crack it, depending on how big that stone is. And I don't care what kind of glass you're running. Number four, a tendency to ride the bulge. What do I mean by that? Well, most roads have a bulge in the middle. They kind of are like this and then they go down. That obviously is to channel water off of the road during rain, which you want. Of course, hydroplaning is not a good thing. However, because of the more narrow wheelbase on the Jeep Wrangler, and again, particularly the two-wheel drive, or the two-door, I should say, it will ride that. It will want to go back and forth naturally over that bulge in the road. So you kind of have to pay a little bit more attention from a steering standpoint when you're driving on a road that is newer and maybe not quite as flat as some of the old ones. You know, we kind of develop new ideas as we move forward, and somewhere down the line they discovered that putting a bulge in the road to get rain off the road is a good idea. Not so much fun in a Jeep Wrangler two-door. Number five, a high center of gravity. That means that it's sitting on its platform, it's higher up in the air, and it's more prone to tipping or rolling. Now, this isn't anything new with the Jeep Wrangler. Been a concern and been mentioned for years. And I'll tell you, years ago, I was actually on my way to work. It was, I don't know, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. It had been raining outside, but it was at the point where the rain was drying in places on the freeway. So I'm going around a big curve on the freeway and I can't see people in front of me. It's at rush hour and I was going too fast. So I'm going around this curve and then I see traffic stop. So I'm at a curve, I'm turning, I slam on the brakes. It hits a dry piece of road and the whole Jeep went over, up on two wheels, and then slammed back down the other way. And of course, you know, as a floating object inside the Jeep, I was fighting against that myself. Actually slammed my head against the roll bar. It was not pleasant. So you have to be a little bit more careful, I think, and at least be aware that if you're taking any kind of a severe turn, you are in a high center of gravity vehicle. and it's possible that you could roll. I thought for sure that day I was going over in the instance that it happened. Fortunately, it didn't get far enough the other way, and I pulled right back down. I was kind of lucky. I just got a bump on the head, you know. Number 6, they are not secure in the soft top form. Fortunately, or for video purposes, I've got 2 different versions here. We have the hard top, which is not what I'm talking about. Obviously, with the hard top on, it is more secure because you'd have to break the glass or, I don't know, try to rip through the plastic like you would any other vehicle. But on my wife's, she's got the soft top, and this will not hold up to a sharp knife. Pretty easy. Stick it in, run it down the side, and you have access to everything. Not to mention, to get the top off, all you really have to do is pull up on the edges, and then you can just grab and go ahead and rip the top off. Not really very secure at all. Same thing in the back. You just kind of pull the edge, and hers never stays down anyway. And it'll pop out of the tracks, and then you're going to give someone full access to whatever is inside your Jeep. You want to make sure that you park in well-lit areas and never carry anything around in the Jeep that could cause anybody to want to get in and steal it. By the way, you may have noticed these stupid little things on the side, ever since we've had this Jeep, they always pull up. They never stay secure in the track. And I think that's because of air pressure pushing against the back when you're going down the road. It just kind of forces these up. I don't know what it is. Kind of a pet peeve of mine with the soft top, at least with hers. Maybe it has a defect or something, I'm not exactly sure. Lastly, fuel economy, if you do mods. I mean, the Jeep Wrangler doesn't get the best fuel economy anyway. I've noticed my wife's, which is modded, it has a 3-inch block and spacer lift. It also has bigger, heavier wheels and tires. It gets about 12 to 13 miles per gallon on a good day. That's not very good. There are full-size trucks that get better fuel economy than that. Now, in my Jeep, which is primarily stock, except for different wheels and tires, but what I got is pretty close to stock as far as weight and size goes. So I don't really suffer too much in that area, but I'm getting something in the range of about 17 to 18 miles per gallon, sometimes high 16s. So don't expect that just because it looks like it's a smaller, maybe lighter vehicle, it's really not, that you're somehow going to get good fuel economy. You're not. It's just not good. Anyway, I just wanted to get on a few negative things about the Jeep Wrangler, particularly if you're in the market, maybe you're consider buying one. I know a lot of people now with what's going on with the Toyota Tacoma, not liking the new Tacoma, have mentioned about maybe getting a Jeep Wrangler. Just be aware of what you're getting into. If you think these things are bad, at least fuel economy on the Toyota Tacoma, you're not going to get better in the Jeep Wrangler. Leave a comment. Let me know. Do you agree with these things? Or who cares? It's a Jeep. I'd just be curious to know. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.